So to finish this page, we know that the Puerto Rican parrots were disappearing, and in 1968, the government of the United States and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico worked together to create the Puerto Rican Parrot Recovery Program. Its goal was to save and protect the parrots. The first part of the plan was to create an aviary. An aviary is a safe place for parrots to live and raise their chicks. And often an aviary is very much in the wild, except it has a net where the birds actually don't know the net is there, but it's like a protective net. Sometimes you see aviaries as spaces in zoos. So here we have another beautiful collage of the workers, and they are trying to put up the aviary. You remember I told you about the net. Parrots squawked as scientists with long-handled nets gently lifted eggs and chicks from their nesting holes. The scientists always left at least one egg or chick in each nest so some birds could continue living in the wild. Stop and turn and talk to your partner about why they would want some of the birds to live in the wild. Thank you so much. In 1973, Loy Cay Aviary opened in El Yunque. Incubators, which are warm, protected places. Incubators in the aviary kept the eggs warm. The Puerto Rican parents raised in captivity, that means not like natural. They were raised in the aviary, had no experience as parents. So Hispanolan parents helped raise the chicks. These parrots came from the nearby island of Hispaniola. They are like cousins to the Puerto Rican parents, but are not as rare. Again, we see our embedded glossary of terms. Another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful collage. Once, hundreds of thousands of Puerto Rican parrots flew over the island. By 1975, only 13 were left in the rainforest. The worried scientists built special nesting boxes and put them in trees in areas where the parents were likely to nest. The parrots inspected the nesting boxes and then moved in. These nesting boxes were very deep and dark, just like the nesting holes inside the Puerto Rican trees that the Puerto Rican parents would find in the wild. A bird sitting at the top of the box could not see all the way to the bottom. Pearly-eyed thrashers like to see the bottom of their nest, so the thrashers left the parents' nesting boxes alone. Wild parrots squawked as scientists gently placed chicks from the aviary in their nest so the chicks could learn how to live in the wild. In 1979, the very first chick raised in the aviary flapped out of a wild nest into the rainforest. The scientists worked hard to keep the parrots healthy, both the captive and the wild birds. One chick was rescued from the wild after its wings were badly damaged by gooey slime inside the nest. The scientists rebuilt the baby parrot's wings using several different things. They used old discarded parrot feathers, pins, and glue. Then they watched the parrot use its new wings to fly for the first time. By the end of 1979, there were 15 captive parrots. Most had come from eggs and chicks taken from the wild nest in the aviary. More beautiful collages. Hurricane Hugo roared through the treetops of Puerto Rico in 1989. A quack, a quack, the parrots called as the winds blew down many of their tall trees. The hurricane wiped out crops and it wrecked buildings and homes. In the aviary, the scientists worried about all the parrots. What if another hurricane blew down more trees? What if the aviary was damaged? And of course, many of you know that hurricanes are strong, strong winds that bring high water into many islands and create havoc and destroy things. And here we see the scientist. A guac, a guac. A group of parrots squawked as scientists moved them from L'Aquario aviary to a new aviary in another forest. This forest is less humid than El Yunque, and many parents had once lived there. Now there were 2 safe places for captive parents to live and raise their chicks. Rio Abao Aviary opened in 1993. It had some challenges, however. There were heavy thunderstorms, sometimes caused the incubators to lose power, and the scientists found that generators that kept the power flowing to the computers. Generators are they run off of gas instead of electricity, and they can't be knocked off during storms. The scientists also tried some new ideas. They kept more aggressive pairs of parrots away from the gentler ones, so the gentler birds would not be frightened. They also caged young parents with adults, so the birds could see how adult parents behave. The number of parrots in the aviary grew. In 1999, Rio Abeljo Aviary had 54 Puerto Rican parrots. The recovery program was ready for the next part of the plan, releasing the adult parrots raised in captivity into the wild. In 2000, 2 captive bred parrots were released in El Yunque. It was late spring and the wild chicks had already flown from their nest, and the wild adults were still nearby where the captive bred parrots could see them and join them. A quack, the parrots called as they flew from the newcomers and searched for food. The captive bred parents had been trained to find food and avoid hawks, but many were caught by hawks anyway. So before the next 16 parrots were released in 2001, they were given extra training. They heard a hawk's whistle as the cutout shape of a hawk was passed over their cages. They watched and trained hawk attacks at the Hispaniola parrot that was wearing a protective leather jacket. In time, the parrots learned to stay still or hide if a hawk was nearby. When these parrots were released, more of them survived in the wild. Who knew that a parrot could be trained to do that? That's pretty amazing. The scientists were ready to create a second wild flock. A flock is a group of birds. In 2004, 22 captive bred parrots were released in Rio Abeljo Forest. The newly released birds formed pairs, found nesting boxes, and raised their chicks. Dozens of parents have been released in the Rio Abeljo since then, and they have begun to spread out through the forest. If you look up from the forest and you are very lucky, you might catch the bright blue flashes of bright flight feathers. These are the Puerto Rican parrots. They live on this island. They have lived on this island for millions of years, and then they nearly vanished. That means to disappear forever from the earth, but they are flying over Puerto Rico still, calling a guac, a guac. Now this is another part of the text structure of this book. This part of the text structure is called the afterword, where someone who has written the book or done the illustrations has just a few more things they want to say to the reader. And this looks like these are the scientific details. Here you can see the little leather vest that parrot from the other forest wore to protect himself against the hawk. And this shows all of the true life details. These are photographs, which is not like the beautiful artwork that we've seen of tissue paper collage work. Here's some more things about this. These are all part of the text structure of informational text that we know is critical to teach the children that we serve. And here is a timeline. These are the important dates in the history of Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican parrots. It's a timeline. And then the author gives us resources. She tells us all of these things. If we want to find out more, we can go to these places. And here we have the acknowledgments page, which is interesting in an informational text. Many times you will have that. And that is the end of the story. And this is the author and the artist. Cindy Trumbauer left and Susan Roth in Puerto Rico's El Yunque rainforest.